Hello, my name is Dean, and this is the first video of this type that I put up on YouTube. Granted, I normally put up gaming videos, and the crowd at which this video is aimed will probably frown upon the gaming side. I hope you don't judge me on that. I game. We all have different interests, and one of mine is gaming. It means nothing, and it's completely separate from this. But anyway, I'm digressing. I haven't seen anyone else put anything up about this, and it has confused me considerably, and I don't know what to think. And to be honest, I need your help. Now, I'm pretty sure that most of you will have heard of Fritz Springmeier. Every single truther, conspiracy theorist, investigator, researcher, lecturer, anyone who investigates anything to do with the New World Order, the Illuminati, and other secret societies will have at some time, no doubt, referenced, mentioned, or talked about Fritz Springmeier. He was one of the first people that kind of opened my eyes to what was going on with, I think it was a lecture he did. I think it was back in it may be the early 90s, but early 90s, late 80s or something, at the Prophecy Club. And it blew my mind. And it was completely insane what he was talking about, but completely true. Now, before we begin this, I am aware that Fritz, or Mr. Springmeier, is a highly, deeply religious man, Christian, and I do not wish to disrespect that. I am not of that persuasion. I do not like to be labelled at all, to be honest, in any way, as far as that goes. But that aside, what he speaks about, or what he has spoken about in the past, has been fundamentally essential to opening the eyes of many, if not all, truthers, conspiracy theorists, and whatever you want to call yourself. I'm not clear on that either. But something has happened recently that has completely thrown me. Now, I have been a member, just let me go back and say that, yeah, this is my first video, but even though I haven't been vocal, I have been very active in doing my own research, my own investigative kind of work, and looking into all kinds of areas of everything to do with our world and this New World Order, this Illuminati, this power base, the elites, from the earliest history of the Bavarian Order of the Illuminati back in 1776, kind of right through their influence, the Rothschilds' kind of part in certain wars, certain beginnings of organisations and societies, and right up to present day, including JFK, obviously, Martin Luther King, RFK, JFK Jr., obviously 9/11, obviously, the biggest thing in our lifetime. Well, in my lifetime, born in the mid-70s. But yes, I mean, even the big, now mainstream guys of the alternative media, the mainstream alternative media, kind of an oxymoron, but that's how it's become, like Alex Jones. In the UK where I'm from, there's David Icke, there's UK Column. I'm not particularly sure about Brian Garish and Bill Mahoney, even though they've done great work in their own way. I will be talking about those guys in a future video, to do with Holly Gregg, but that's another matter. And also, I am working on a video. It's been very difficult. I'm struggling a little bit with it, but it's to do with the Dunblane massacre in Scotland in 1996, and comparing it with Sandy Hook back in 2012, which I know a lot of you guys are, quite rightly so, still working on, still trying to figure out, me as well. But I'm digressing. I'm going way off the point here. This is about Fritz Springmeier and his obvious, from day one, right back 25 years ago at least. He's been exposing, seemingly fighting the Illuminati. He's been warning us. He's been, at times, he says he's been in great danger. He's been in prison. Excuse me. While I light a cigarette. He's been in prison. He was sent to prison for, I believe it was bank robbery, which, again, I do not know the details, but more than likely framed. And he disappeared. He went off the face of the earth because he went to prison. And all we had was his Prophecy Club lecture and obviously his books. Now his books, namely this one, Bloodlines of the Illuminati, is still to this day probably the most important book to do with exposing the Illuminati. And he's done other books on mind control, MK Ultra, all that stuff. But this book, I do have this book. It is an absolute powerhouse, an absolute encyclopedic map, just full of information to do with the 13 bloodlines, supposed bloodlines of the official Illuminati, the original families involved, and how it's spread out from these original 13 families and how they've infiltrated and manipulated their way into every area of our world. Politics, banking especially, media, even healthcare, pharmaceutical companies and arms, everything, everything you can think of. These guys are basically part of, to some degree. Now, it is now the 27th of March. January, February, it's April. Oh my God. I'm sorry, it's getting a bit late here, but it's the 27th of April. Now on Facebook, I am a member, I am following, shall I say, Fritz. Now, normally he puts very detailed, very articulate, very well put together posts on subjects that revolve around the Illuminati or society or whatever. But on the 24th, here we go, the 24th of April, seemingly out of the blue, he put this post. Now this post, this is really strange to me, but he does begin with a quote, a religious quote. I won't read that, but this is where we begin with this. The date is the 18th of the 8th, 2008, and the future leader of the world and the Illuminati, then 45 years old, has a heart attack, a 14-day coma, and a life-changing near-death experience. Next year, the old guard of Illuminati passed the leadership baton to him at Stade, Switzerland. He then spends the next 2 years consolidating power within the Illuminati and in order to enforce his vision, his ideals and principles. And his absolute control solidified. He gathered leaders who had been loyal to his father and who would accept his philosophy and help him weed out the sick perversions and evil pervading the large Illuminati ranks. This explains why so many of the affiliated fraternal organizations have been dropped, and some dismantled, because the Collins family was so deeply into witchcraft, their occult power had been attractive to the Illuminati bloodlines at one point. They were no longer welcome within the Illuminati. They were told to take their dark powers somewhere else. Powerful occult groups like the OTO, that is the... I do believe that is the one associated with Peaches Geldof and her recent death. Excuse me. The Order of the Golden Dawn, apparently been dismantled. The Committee of 300, which has met for so many years in Europe, was stripped of its power. And then he says more of the story can be told later. Now what he's doing here is, it's without any warning, he's just introducing a person, a leader of the Illuminati. And he's saying that this new leader is changing the very face of the Illuminati. I'm finding this very, very interesting. I'll carry on. The Illuminati agenda was revised, and to this new world leader, William Cornelius Van Dyne, became a force for good, further fulfilling the scripture, for rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil, for he is the minister of God and the for good. He does, Fritz Springmeier does quote the Bible a lot, and again, I'm not judging anything, I'm not saying anything about that. But if you shall read my report on Mr. Van Dyne, you will see that this man is no Antichrist. Of course, he is also not a Christian. His philosophy fits in perfectly with historical theistic Gnosticism. Theistic Gnosticism. Make of that what you will. And is appropriate for the Illuminati goal to have their Masonic religion become the world's religion. Meanwhile, the large religious bodies of the world, as I previously exposed, are directed from orders coming from the United Grand Lodge in England. Now, this is important. What is exciting is that he has been dismantling the old satanic power structure and replacing it with a much more benign power structure. We can continue to pray that this process continue. As you can imagine, he's taking a lot of heat as he melts down this old satanic power structure. Now, from what I've looked into, and from day one, we all know, traditionally the Illuminati and the New World Order, be it the same thing or not, as I'm starting to get confused about, the lines are blurring, but they are not they do not follow religions as we normal people follow religions. Christianity, Catholicism, even Hinduism, Islam, anything. We know them as Luciferians, Satanists, and they do a lot of dark, bad things as far as allegedly child sacrifice, paedophilia, that kind of thing. Now, what Springmeier is saying here is that the Illuminati is no longer satanic, and yet we know that the world's politicians, people involved in politics, many famous celebrities, musicians, film stars, sports people, and like I said, politicians have all been, not all, but have been linked, or directly or indirectly, to either paedophilia, Satanism, or some form therein. So, what is going on here? If the Illuminati is no longer satanic, then obviously these people who are, does that mean that they're not the Illuminati? So does that mean the New World Order? I mean, there's masses of satanic. I mean, the whole of the history of the building of Washington, DC, is all satanic. They've got Bohemian Grove with the giant Moloch owl. You've got obelisks all over the world, in Rome, in London, in Washington, everywhere. It's all linked to Satanism. I know I'm simplifying, I'm breaking things down far too simply here. I know it's a lot more complicated than all that. But the whole of the world's elite power base has been based on Satanism. And now they're turning around and saying, no, we are not satanic. Or at least no longer satanic. But obviously, the structure that they have built up is. So does this mean they're breaking away? Does this mean they're separate now? I don't understand what's going on here, but obviously there's more to come. There is another quote here, and then he ends this first post with, "Life is full of surprises. I've requested handwriting samples of the head of the Illuminati with the purpose of providing you an unbiased report on the world's king. I am also to be provided some other things, which at this time I will allow to be surprises." Isn't that good? Isn't that something to look forward to? "And when available, I will also post. In a dramatic gesture of openness and goodwill towards us common folk, Mr. Van Dyne has provided the requested samples. This post, then, is a forerunner to an amazing upcoming report on an amazing man. I appreciate his toleration. Many of my readers will remember how we Christians have expected to see guillotines used. I, for one, am grateful that such toleration now exists at the top of the pyramid, for it should work its way downward." Then he just kind of goes on about basically being respectful and not to be disrespectful in the comments, because remember, this is on Facebook, and that was it. I saw this and I thought, what the hell is he on about? So obviously I went back and picked up this guy's name, William Cornelius Van Dyne. Obviously I put that in Facebook. Excuse me. Obviously I put that in the search engine. William Van Dyne. Excuse that picture, ignore that. These are obviously the images. Straight away there's nothing on this guy. Nothing. Web. There's got the bloodline, which you'd expect, the Van Dyne bloodline, but nothing directly. That William is not him, that William is not him. There is nothing about that William Van Dyne. Now maybe that's not a surprise. You'd think, well, yeah, he's that powerful, he's the head of the Illuminati. He's controlled the search so that there is nothing on this guy. But there's nothing even about the companies he's involved with, which I shall come to. There's nothing about him at all. I mean, even if you put in like Jacob Rothschild, or obviously David Rockefeller, or someone like that, lots of information on these people. But nothing about this Van Dyne. I mean, I have heard of the Van Dyne bloodline due to Fritz's book, Bloodlines of the Illuminati. But this guy himself, very elusive, very. Now, the next day, which brings us to the 26th of April, sorry, the 25th, Fritz posted this. The King of the World Analysed. This post is the worldwide outcoming of the man behind the curtain, Mr. William Cornelius Van Dyne, born 1963. He is the leader of unusual accomplishment, outgoing and friendly. His close associates are loyal and love to be with him. He dislikes racism and criminal activity. The list of criminal bankers who have departed us is evidence of his dislike of criminals, especially the banksters who have been above the law. Who else has been more above the law than these elite bloodline families? The very fact here, he dislikes criminal activity and then basically admits that those banksters, loads of them in the past few months, have been supposedly committing suicide, are actually dead to the hands of William Van Dyne, or the Illuminati. So, he's kind of trying to create this kind of anti-hero persona, this kind of dark justice, this kind of, I don't like crime, but I can break the law to kill the criminals. The list of criminal bankers who have departed is evidence of his dislike of criminals, especially the banksters who have been above the law. Basically, banksters who have been found to be stealing from the Illuminati to line their own pockets. He came from a privileged world, but is a progressive liberal. Progressive liberal. I don't really know what that means. It sounds... well, make of that what you will. Who hopes to make people's lives better. He is concerned about the youth, because they are the future, and would like to find solutions for helping the next generation. What about the past? What about the past generations? What about us? That is those who care about themselves. And I can testify there are still some outstanding young people. Now this seems to be a big thing with Fritz, those who care about themselves. And it's a big thing in the Bible. Basically, what it comes down to is if you look after yourself, the Illuminati won't kill you, kind of thing. If you just accept what they're going to bring in, whether it be some plan in depopulation, whether it's viruses or wars or whatever. If we can avoid it, if we can look after ourselves, if we can grow our own fruit and veg, if we can do whatever ourselves, then that will be respected by the Illuminati. I don't know. His approach is unique compared to previous similar leaders, but philosophically has some resemblances to the ideas of Adam Weishaupt. Now, Adam Weishaupt is the guy who was commissioned way back in the day, 1776, well, before then, but to basically set up the original Bavarian Order of the Illuminati, I believe. Basically under the orders of the Rothschilds, the Red Shields, and I do think the Van Dynes are directly related to Weishaupts, which is ironic, you know. So it seems they want a poster boy, possibly, and this guy who's basically unknown seems to fit the bill. I don't know, and they're using Fritz as a kind of a conduit, a kind of a middleman again to introduce him. But you know, the whole point of the Illuminati is that, you know, there's the secret. They've always kept themselves to themselves and got other people to do the dirty work and sat back and reap the rewards. Why now do they feel the need to come forward at all? You could argue it's because of this new leadership. He's got new ideas, but again, it's very strange, especially in the light of all these paedophile groups and satanic groups being exposed, especially in the UK with Jimmy Savile and all his cronies, who again needs another video on. I might do one on that because he's basically a procurer, Jimmy Savile, you know. Did some very, very dirty, dastardly things, and is far from the top of any group. But anyway, so the modern Illuminati has returned to philosophy and ditched the satanic witchcraft. Although, he does add, the world is still left with plenty of unaffiliated covens. So he's not denying that Satanism is still around. He's saying it's nothing to do with the Illuminati anymore. What the fuck is going on? Excuse my French. As an aside, Mr. Van Dyne's ancestor, Jan Cornelis Van Dyne, married Nanette Weishaupt, whose mother, Anne-Marie Sassenhofer Weishaupt, has her ashes and gravestone near Nanette's. Adam Weishaupt had a large family, in contrast with the internet, which says he had no children. He had 3 sons who became officers. Eduard Obelst... Oh, grief. I'll let you read that. As well as Alfred von Weishaupt and Wilhelm. Adam Weishaupt was a German philosopher who prolifically wrote at least 70 major philosophical works, something not well known in this country. In this country, I believe he means the US. The following analysis is based solely on the handwriting. Use scientific-based analysis to get an unbiased view on someone's character. The handwriting samples I used would generate the same analysis no matter who gave them to me. I don't quite understand that. Well, does it matter who gives them to me? It's who's written it. I don't. If something is not mentioned, it usually means it was not there in the handwriting to attract attention. In analysis, an analysis is technically a snapshot of the mind's thinking at the time of the writing sample. It has general validity because people do not generally change their personalities. but are the same from day to day. Comments not based on handwriting are in brackets. Now, considering Mr. Fritz Springmeier is a leading kind of commenter on MK Ultra mind control, I think it's strange that he should point out that generally people don't change their personalities. Right, so the way Mr. Van Dyne inspires. He enjoys being around others, sharing in their joys and sorrows, and making new friends. Boredom is not part of his life. He's a picture of enthusiasm. He enjoys life, and never seems to lose his childlike curiosity for things around him. It is rare for him not to start the day with a lively mood, unless circumstances are overly dismal. He sings his way through life. I'm a bit like he's just there. He's spelt through like that. He's normally very, very articulate, and his grammar's very good. And yet, what's that through? Not that that's important, but there's just a few things that don't add up. He's generous and people-oriented, and trusts those near him. He's a genuine person. Now, even though he is, singing the praises of Mr. Van Dyne, he's saying he's unbiased. So this guy must truly be amazing. The way he solves problems. He desires change. He is not afraid to face problems and try to resolve them. He moves from job to job, task to task with ease. He's easily inspired to start new plans and projects with his boundless energy. He often carries along with him. He generally sets reachable goals. See, all this, it's kind of descriptions of normal people. The everyday man who has to get up for work, has to go to work, has to slave away an 8-hour day job, has to come home and try and feed his family, has lots of problems, money-wise, and, none of these can really be put down to Van Dyne's problems, For him, the only security is the freedom to express his feelings and abilities, and yet he is a team player, and objective in listening to others' opinions. He is not narrow-minded. On the flip side, his agile mind can communicate easily. Should things not work out as planned, he can flexibly switch to another plan of action. He is innovative and adopts to new situations without losing his equilibrium. This guy does sound fantastic. There's more here, the way he thinks. Here we go. There's something about what he has friends who don't have a clue about who he really is, nor is he concerned with financial security. I don't think a billionaire would be, do you? The Van Dyne fortune is reportedly a mere $115 billion. The Rothschilds, 156. Now, I think all this is way under. I think it's way over all this. But even so, even if it's not, 115 billion. Are you serious? He has a portfolio of 50 billion and owns shares in CBS, Time Warner, Comcast, Disney, Facebook, Twitter, and other names you may recognise. Why he doesn't list the rest, I don't know. He resists being bound by structures. For instance, his home is his castle, but the building is not. Please give me a break. Mr. Van Dyne is himself. Home to Mr. Van Dyne is himself and the people he allows to intimately visit him. I am reminded that he recently had world leaders including Lord Charles, Jacobus Rothschild and Lady, Barack and Michelle Obama. So he's got these people who intimately visit him, and yet he's not into anything dodgy. He has a tender, compassionate heart. Indeed, his heart rules over his head. I am reminded of him talking to people in the street in casual clothes, hearing their problems without them suspecting who they were talking to, and financing medical teams to help people in need, setting up a soup kitchen, and all this done anonymously. Well, isn't he fantastic? His love for people is invariably returned. At times, his sudden changes in emotion startles people who don't realise he's simply responding to those around him. In fact, his warm nature can switch to spontaneous anger. He's the boss with his subordinates, or as his aide said, he rules. But there are no signs of violence. He appreciates abstract ideas and is fascinated by both little and big things. His ideas and interests are diversified. His knowledge base is practical rather than in-depth, so he depends upon the opinions of others. Also, although at times he'll prefer to investigate for himself, he likes to keep himself busy and his calendar full. He has a wholesome adjustment to life. Now this is interesting, the way he leads. He is quick to make an appraisal and quick in an emergency. The word dynamic comes to mind. He has a poise, dignity and self-assurance. He knows he is important and worthy of attention. He appreciates the importance of his work. For instance, a portfolio of $15 billion was created with the Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation. And we all know what that's about. To control famine, disease and healthcare. Notice the word control. It doesn't say to abolish, to eradicate. It says to control. I found that interesting. And another foundation received $21 billion to create a better education worldwide. $21 billion. And yes, once again, we all know the state of present education worldwide. Actually, part of his sense of personal worth is based on the knowledge that he lines up in thoughts and actions to the set of standards he has adopted as his pattern for living. It's all just rhetorical bullshit. He is both spontaneous and flexible, yet adheres to what he believes. He's responsible and sincere. His creativity plays a role in his leadership also. His subordinate said, momentous ideas are continuously flowing through his mind. A subordinate. The handwriting validates that. He has the ability to provide leadership without the quest for power. Really. Now, with this article, he did add 2 pictures. The first one is that. Look at the size of it. Now, if I try and... excuse me. Just bang the mic there. If I try and blow that up at all, look at the quality. I mean, this is a billionaire, and this is the best picture he can bring. You can't even buy a decent camera. What is this about? Look at that. It's an absolute embarrassment of a photo. The second one, a little bit better. Outside his little hut of a home. I don't know if that's his home. That's probably his shed. Anyway, apparently that's the face of the king of the world, people. Make of that what you will. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what Fritz is up to, whether this is a massive hoax. It could very well be a big hoax. I just find it very intriguing, interesting, confusing, and worrying, to be honest. If the Illuminati are no longer satanic, then are they actually part of the New World Order? Are they a separate group now? What's going on? I have heard a few times that there is separate groups within the elites, and they kind of fight it out amongst themselves. They're kind of warring away, but is that what this is about? Or are they is it just damage control, or is it a whole new way forward, or is it just one big, smoke screen? That's all I'm doing here. I just want to expose this. Not expose it, but I mean, it's out there anyway. Fritz is doing it. Nothing to do with me. But I just want to make you aware. And you can create your own thoughts and opinions about what's going on. Now, yesterday he did put in another, because obviously people were as confused as I am. There was kind of a mix in the comments on his Facebook from some of the followers. Some were just spouting religious stuff, and others were seriously questioning, saying, Fritz, what's going on here? And we were very confused, and rightly so. So he's just basically saying he hasn't sold out. All he's doing is, a non-biased report. It's not like he's working for them. But this is quite... where is it? There we go. Profound new approach. This post is a clarification of what happened yesterday in regards to the pursuit of information on the Illuminati. In line with their own discussions, to be more open, they have decided to make me their choice of persons to do that. As of yesterday, April the 27th. Oh, I see, it was the 27th, sorry, that was... It just said yesterday on the thing, I put 26, it's the 27th. As of yesterday, April the 27th, 2014, with their permission, I will be granted certain documents and answers to my questions. At this time, their information agreement is exclusive to me. You know what I mean? It sounds like some kind of contractual deal. For years, I have relentlessly pursued an understanding of these people. Yes, he has. And as they know, took great risks to do it. Yes, he has. They acknowledge to me that risk, as well as their admiration that I was fearless. I think they do realise that I move forward with love in my heart, not malice, and hope the best for everyone. Their openness does not change who I am as a person. I don't know how he's validating any of this information, where he's receiving it from. What makes it genuine, what makes him believe it's genuine. Or whether this is even Fritz himself doing it. But if you're on Facebook, now I'm on Facebook for no other reason than to follow things like this, and I do recommend that you find Fritz on Facebook and just keep an eye on what's going on here, because he doesn't seem nowadays to really have another output. He doesn't really do much on, well, nothing on anywhere else actually. He doesn't do Twitter, or thank God. He doesn't do YouTube that much, and not on his own. He does do appearances and things, and guests on shows and things, but from direct himself, it's Fritz Springmeier on Facebook. But I just wanted to bring this to your attention if you didn't already know. And, what do you think about this? Because I'm very confused. I really am. Anyway, thanks for this. It may have dragged out a bit, and sorry for the lack of design and quality. But this is my first time doing this, and hopefully I'll be doing more. But for now, see you later. Cheers.